So for the last 3 years, we have been traveling wineries in China and talking to different actors in the wine industry, trying to learn about how you begin and develop an emerging industry in an emerging region. And that means talking to a lot of different and competing actors in a variety of regions. If you've been attending the Wine Economists for quite some time, then you've already heard conversations about coopetition. And if you've thought about industrial upgrading, you've thought already quite a bit about the kinds of transfers of technology, of social knowledge that happen between frequently foreign producers operating in a new region and a dialogue of learning that happens as foreign producers seek to develop institutional knowledge and learn more about an emerging market where the rules are going to be different, where the opportunities are going to be different. And you've seen particularly how wine has a different kind of space in industrial upgrading when it comes to the kind of cooperation that you might need to engage in because of the importance of regional branding and the way innovation happens in the wine industry. Today, what we're interested in is talking about the kinds of cooperation we're seeing between erstwhile competitors. And when does that end? So you have a lot of benefits from technology transfers, from the sharing of knowledge and resources, but at some point, those benefits begin to be outweighed by the cost of sharing between groups. And today we're going to talk about a particular case study, one of the wealthiest regions in China, Shandong, which is a tourist magnet. And you're going to go for the beaches, you're going to go for the nightlife, and you're going to go because there's money, and there's institutional history, and there's wine culture. There are wine museums. And so there's a lot of fun that you can have. But if you bring out your trusty Lonely Planet, you might want to head to a village for an idyllic chateau experience. And luckily, about 10 years ago, a man develops the Scottish castle in Moulongo, in a village where you can have the opportunity of a Scottish experience. You can have the posh dinner in the dining room under the statue of some dead white guy who seems important and smart. You can have the posh breakfast Western experience with European art. And you can have an idyllic romantic getaway in a beautiful village where you also see unpretentious and fantastic food. So you can have local food, and you can do local exercise in the way older people do in public exercise. And so you see a lot of public development, but still the feel of a quiet village, which is really what's being advertised here. And so this gentleman owns a convenience store, but it's also his house. And you see the dirt road. These are the places where you can be quiet and relaxed. And this is the sense that you might see if you're looking for vineyard-type agricultural tourism. And so this is something that the Scottish Castle is really trying to promote. Now, about 5 years ago, we get a new group, Lafite, who's probably the most famous wine brand in China, comes to the same village. And they start working together, but with very different ideas of wine. So here also, Lafite needs to have control over land, which means convincing the government and local farmers to lease out use rights so that they can then choose whom to hire on given days, so that they have power over viticultural practices as well as what actually happens with the land. That means sharing resources. And that's actually quite difficult because Lafite doesn't care about tourism. They have a very different perspective of wine, and it's a relatively small village. So suddenly we have the needs of farmers, the needs of local government officials, and two very different kinds of wineries working in the same village. But they end up working together quite well. Lafite is able to provide an intern that specializes in pathology in a region where rot and humidity in the summer is very, very important. And Treaty Port is able to provide equipment. So in 2013, when we first go, what we see is Lafite using the Treaty Port wineries. And so we see a dependence on good institutional investment and also goodwill. So there's a very careful kind of collaboration that requires relationship building across many different sides that may have different kinds of institutional problems. And so what we're curious about, what we're thinking about is what's going to happen as economic change happens quickly. Will these institutional relationships and incentives remain the same? And Pierre will tell you the next story.
All right, so that's how it all started. You had this little a wealthy British guy who builds his Scottish castle winery, and then you have, through the same French enologist connection, Lafitte, who settles in the same village, and they start this little Coopetition type relationship where eventually they'll be competitors, but they're also collaborating. It looks like a win-win situation. Lafitte is not after a big wine tourism thing. They won't have rooms to stay or anything like that. And the Scottish castle does. So there's this little win-win situation that's there. This village is called Moulango, by the way, and wine rural tourism is about to get much bigger in Moulango. So without consulting anyone, the village government decided it would be great to start linking up all the up-and-coming wine tourism and other tourism facilities in the village. So that's at the door of the Scottish castle. They did not want this, but they just decided it would be nice to enlarge the road to make it easier for people to drive all the way there, tour buses to get through, and welcome to the new and improved Moulango village, the agritainment center of the place. And this is betting on a very simple fact. This village is next to a tourist magnet. It's in the tourist magnet region. There's lots of golf courses and horseback riding places around. And this is on a magical triangle between Beijing, Shanghai, and Seoul, which makes the potential for tourists running away from urban life and coming here for relaxing rural holiday huge. And so there's a lot of investment coming to this little tiny village. So it doesn't look like what it was when Suzanne was there a few years ago. And now you have this nice road that goes straight through the village. Very nice like this. It's very convenient. Enough space for tour buses and a stone wall with flowers along the road like this. And they said, just like in Burgundy is really the idea. So very convenient. And this is going right by the DBR, Lafitte, vines, and right in front of the property, which they're not so happy with. It's going right by the Scottish castle. So they're bracing for the increased bus and tourist traffic that's going to drive by this place a little bit. And both of them, the Scottish castle and the Lafitte winery, lost land because of this road being there, right? But, you know, they'll suck it up. Maybe something good will come out of there. More people can come to the door. There's also another little site that this links up. By the way, there's a nice little, there was a Taoist temple in ruin. That was tiny, but the government decided to restore it much bigger and shinier. So now you have this really big Taoist samples. I think the monks were kind of offended. They mostly left. But this is there, and it's one of the tourist sites. And you have this really nice modern road that links up all the places together. And to bring it all together, that's also new. There is the village has its very own visitor tourist center with a very nice little restaurant with local food in there, where you can order the entry-level DBR Lafitte basic AOC Bordeaux wine in there. So this village has been transformed. It used to be this little thing. You would get off the freeway, go in these little dirt roads, and and now it's like this. Now you have this nice sort of freeway that goes right through the middle, a tourist center, and a lot of things. And one reason is because there's a new player that has come along, an investor from Hong Kong, an investor from Singapore, with a lead winemaker and project manager from Burgundy. And they've decided to build, that's also above on the hill up from the Scottish castle, a new wine tourism resort called Runaway Cow. And it's called Runaway Cow because you come here because you're running away from urban life and you want to retreat. They'll have some wine. They'll make wine just like in Burgundy, apparently. It was designed by a German architect. There'll be 20 rooms where you can stay. You'll be parking lot. It'll be right connected through the pretty road. And there'll be a biodynamic farm where your kids can play with the goats, where you can pick your own fruit, and then all sorts of things like that. So very convenient. And one last stuff. So that's the wine tourism there. When Lafitte and the Scottish castle showed up, it was really supposed to be very small. They were supposed to be the odd thing in this tiny village. And this new thing has happened. So I'll leave you with one last thought about what the future of Moulango village. this is a map of the vineyard of the Scottish castle. The red numbers here are the blocks of the Scottish castle. And it's about to get much more convenient to get there because at a higher level of government, without consulting anyone involved here, the blue thing that you see here is going to be an elevated highway overpass that's going to go right above the village. Both of the wineries would lose land, a few hectares of land in the process, and it will literally cast a shadow on the vineyards and the wineries of this place. So this, if you go back there in 3 or 4 years, this place will be transformed and will look very different from the village that Cynthia started with at the beginning of today. So that's the little story of Moulongo for today.